Going on, people in YouTube land? I made a video yesterday about the viral Wallgreens security guard video that's going around. Have you seen that video?
No.
Pull up on your phone.
On YouTube?
Yeah, just go to YouTube and go to Shorts and type in Wallgreens security guard, and you'll see like a guy. But I made this video about the viral Wallgreens security guard video that's going around. The video was mostly directed towards security guards. So today I want to do a video that's mostly directed towards the average public. In situations like this, I really wish, especially given my glorious background as a contributor to Fox News and other.
Will you tell me which one it is?
Yeah, that guy right there.
On the top?
Yeah. So just click on it, but turn it down so I don't get flagged. Anyway, especially considering the fact that I have been a contributor to national news networks on a lot of different topics, I would love for someone to reach out and talk to me about security, because that is what I do. I'm a security guard channel, right? I'm a security guard. I educate, I teach people about the realm of private security. So one of the questions that's going around right now on social media, one of the questions that's going around right now on local news stations, I just had my wife pull up the news article here, is should security guards be wearing the type of equipment or the amount of equipment that they're wearing? This conversation comes up all the time. Guys, it comes up within the industry itself. I have this, I don't want to say argument because I'm not quite sure what we're arguing about, but I have this discussion within private security with people on this channel, with people in various other social media groups, with people on the street, with people that I work with. It's kind of crazy to me. And I'm going to tell my wife here, who's over kind of off camera, the conversation constantly comes up, and it's come up again in this situation. Should security guards wear the amount of equipment or the type of equipment that we do? So if you look at what I wear on a daily basis, a lot of people say that that is too adjacent to police officers, that we look too much like cops, right? That we are wearing too much equipment for the locations that we're working. I get this a lot. You work in a grocery store, why do you have on a bulletproof vest? You work in a grocery store, why do you need multiple magazines? You work in a grocery store, why do you have to have a taser? You're working in a grocery store, why do you have to look so intimidating, right? So there was a situation in Seattle where a young lady was accused of shoplifting, which coincidentally hasn't come up on whether or not she was shoplifting. We'll get back to that, okay? But she was accused of shoplifting, and a very large security guard, similar to myself, probably 6'2", 6'3", I'm going to say close to 300 pounds.
Big boy.
Big guy, yeah. He makes an approach. He's not necessarily aggressive, but in my opinion, he's lacking an understanding of optics, right?
Right.
He's close to her. Okay. He's closing her in. One of the things that he doesn't do is he doesn't clearly identify himself and what the issue is. If it was me in that same situation, excuse me, my name is Officer so-and-so, I'm security for the location, I have reason to believe that you're shoplifting, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. If I have that authority. Now, if I don't have that authority, I shouldn't be engaging in that, right? But it becomes this back and forth, and then she's recording it, and the whole thing goes viral, right? A lot of other back issues that aren't important to what we're talking about right now. Okay. But on the news stories and on social media, the question comes up and the conversation comes up at how tactical he looks for where he's working, all right? So
what city does this take place in?
This takes place in the great city of Seattle.
That's right.
The great, safe, lovely, nothing ever goes wrong city of Seattle. And one of the people who had a video about this, he's got a huge channel, like, 600,000 followers, and he's just roasting this guy, okay? He's like, oh, you're wearing this, and oh, you're wearing that, and da-da-da-da. Just one of those, like, channels, right? Real sassy channel, okay? Yeah. But even he says, I looked up the location where this person works, and it's downtown in this area, and there were 7 stabbings and 5 assaults, so I have to agree that this might be a dangerous location. Let me just say this. If you're a news reporter, if you're an average person, if you're, whoever, if you're a security guard that doesn't work in those environments, let me tell you something. Go fuck yourself. Everybody has something to say about what security guards are wearing and what security guards are carrying and what security guards have access to, while y'all motherfuckers ain't the ones that have to go up and deal with the person with the goddamn knife, the machete, the hatchet, the syringe, the coked out It's not even just, listen, I've said this 100,000 times to the point that I'm literally tired of saying it. If you Google the last 20 mass shootings, you are going to see that at least 6 to 7 of those have happened in grocery stores. If you Google the last prominent murders of security guards, they have happened in convenience stores. The Buffalo. Okay, give me a second here. The same people in legislation, whether it's at the state level or the federal level, the same people who want to utilize mass shootings as reasons to remove common everyday citizens' access to firearms, right? So the Biden administration, the governor of New York. Does anybody remember the Buffalo shooting? There was a shooting in Buffalo, I think it was last year. They're saying he was radicalized by being on 4chan and being on Reddit. They're talking about introducing legislation right now to sue platforms like YouTube, platforms like Reddit, platforms like 4chan for radicalizing a person to go and take out a mass shooting. They're saying that because this guy perpetuated the mass shooting at this grocery store and killed 8 black people, one of which was a security guard, that's a hate crime. And that all of this is tied into access to the AR-15. So from a legislative standpoint, from a media standpoint, from a societal standpoint, from a social media standpoint, all of this is tied into the dangers around AR-15s, the dangers around radicalizations. Here's my question to you motherfuckers. Where did it happen? At a grocery store. Who was the first person that was shot? A security guard. There's a story right now that comes out of Chicago from 2 days ago. Security guard working at a Foot Locker. Now, what have they been doing in mostly blue states like Chicago for the past 5 years? Hey, you want to go steal some shit? Go ahead. What do they tell the security guards? Don't do anything, right? They've advocated for people to be able to just walk right in to any store and steal what they want. You guys can go on YouTube right now and you can type in smash and grab. You can type in, run-in robbery, and you're going to see hundreds of videos where people are just allowed to run into a store and steal shit. And when they're caught, what do the people in these blue states and blue cities do? They let them the fuck go, right? So a similar situation, I'm assuming, that people walk into this Foot Locker this last week and a security guard tries to intervene, I'm assuming has words with probably some 14, 15-year-old gangbanger. And when he leaves to go home that night, he gets shot in his fucking car. Now, I can tell you about a personal situation, a guy that I was training, a guy that I was mentoring, a young man, 22, 23 years old, working security for the same company that I work for. He's sitting in his car. He's watching the door of a hotel. Now, you would look at that person and go, you're sitting in your car, you're watching the door of a hotel. What do you need a bulletproof vest for? What do you need a gun for? You're not a cop. And because he's working in a security capacity, he's shot 9 times and murdered on the side of the fucking street. I can tell you about security guards every year since I've been here. I moved here in 2020. Every year that I've been here, a security guard has been shot. A security guard has been stabbed. I've had 12-inch knives pulled on me. I've had people pull 3 guns on me in the past 2 years. So this fucking laissez-faire, blasé attitude, because someone on the peripheral gets intimidated. I hate that conversation. People walk into the store all the time. Middle-aged people, elderly people, a lot of these fucking hipsters, they come in and they go, it's one of the most micro-aggressive things that I hear on a daily basis. Wow, you sure are geared up today. Yeah, motherfucker, well, I'll tell you what. When little Chris comes in here and starts shooting everybody, I'll make sure to not intimidate you with my overly bearing presence. I'll go to the other end of the store and save those people. And it's the same kind of people that have a problem with how we're dressed, that have a problem with the fact that I'm wearing a plate carrier, that have a problem with the fact that I have a gun. But when the meth head is following them down aisle 18, guess who they come over to and say, will you please walk me to my car? Like, somebody's lying. So if we're passing legislation, if we're outlawing access to firearms, if we are going to stop the access to certain things,
Protective gear.
If we're going to do all that, then at the same time, from a government standpoint, you can't tell me that mass shootings are out of control and there's crazed killers everywhere. Everything can't be right. Somebody's lying. Either I need to be dressed like that because of the things that I legitimately deal with, especially in a city like Portland or Seattle, or somebody's lying about the crime problem. Now, I work this job every day. I put in 16 hours a day when I'm working. I know what I'm dealing with. Now, the actions of that security guard, I've already gone over that. The issues about his background, I've already gone over that. Unlike law enforcement, unlike police officers, I come on my channel, and when security guards do something wrong, I call it out. That's the difference between me and other people and me and other channels. That's literally why I call myself the atypical security guard. Because a typical security guard doesn't see anything wrong with the shit that he did. The typical police officer doesn't feel the need to come on here and call out things that are blatantly unconstitutional and wrong. But I try to have a critical thinking mindset and look at things and go, hey, let me just look at this on surface level and face value. And surface level and face value is that we cannot look at the current state of our country. We can't look at the current state of Portland. We can't look at the current state of Seattle, Chicago, any of these areas. We can't look at that with critical thinking skills and say everything is okay. Clearly, it's not. Retail, grocery, convenience stores are dangerous places. Guys, my son, who's 25 years old, he's currently in California. When he was going to school in Missouri, he was working at a convenience store and was robbed at gunpoint. I could be sitting here having this conversation with you guys as a father who lost a kid. And his attitude towards firearms miraculously changed after he had one pointed in his fucking face. Because he was on that same liberal shit about, you don't need a firearm. You don't have to have a firearm with you everywhere. I'm not saying that he's done a complete 180, but his attitude towards firearms in general, it had a swift change once he had one pointed at it. And you guys aren't operating in reality. I find it also highly, highly, highly ironic that news organizations like the one that reported on the guy in Seattle, if you are a news reporter in Seattle and you have the nerve to fix your lips to say something about private security, you have lost your fucking mind. You know why? Because you guys utilize private security all the time. These cute little attractive news reporters that you guys see standing on the side of the road, guess who's standing on the other side of the camera? A guy like me with a gun. During the entire riots of 2020, K2 News had me and multiple officers with every single one of their news anchors. Every news station here in Portland, when the riots were popping off and they were going downtown trying to get their story for the day, they had private security guards just like me with a gun. So all of this, oh my God, like, do you need 2 magazines? Do you really need a bulletproof vest? Do you need this? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you need it? Because if you don't need it, why are y'all hiring us? Why do you have us in the car with you? Why do you have us escorting you from the building to your vehicle, to the site, facing the opposite direction, making sure nobody's running up on you, and then taking your happy ass back to the station? But see, they won't have that conversation. They won't bring me on to the news stream to talk about private security. They went out and found some guy, some sassy dude in Seattle, and was like, this guy's a private security guard. And then he gets on there talking about, yeah, he is overly dressed. He's overdoing it. He's acting like a cop. That has got to stop. Nobody is acting like a goddamn cop. If we're being 100% honest, given the optics of the people that were in the store that were being talked to and dealt with, if he was acting like a cop, it probably would have went way more south. The fact that it didn't is because he was doing his job as a security guard. Now, the guy is a bonehead. He's a bonehead. I offer no sympathy for him. I hope he gets whatever's coming to him, because the way that he handled himself, the things that he said, he was clearly out of line, and his certifications and licenses weren't even up to date.
Are you talking about this video?
That guy.
Okay.
So that goes without saying. But doing your job as a security guard is not you acting like a cop. The only people who have this cop fetish in their head are the people that comment on this shit. I don't know any security guards. Like, I don't even know what it would mean to say you're acting like a cop. What does that even mean? When I'm doing my job in private security, I am protecting the employees, the staff, and the customers.
I think I can answer that question.
Answer that. I would, hang on a second. Let me get, okay, hold that thought.
Okay.
I'm protecting the staff, the employees, and the customers. I'm not writing tickets. I'm not arresting people. Like, I know what my powers of detention are, when I can use them, when I can't. Like, wearing a uniform, having a badge that clearly says security, having a uniform that clearly says security, that's not acting like a cop. Like, I don't get that. Go ahead. My wife has something she wants to try. Go. No, I'm sorry. I've been ranting. Go ahead. This shit pisses me off.
Well, I just think it's the overall general. Well, you know your duties and work within the bounds to the best of your ability within the what the hell are they called? Your post orders, right? Like, we talk about this all the time with millions of different scenarios every day that come up. But there are a lot who don't, and who do more than necessary. Like, we talk all the time, right? People shoplift all the fucking time, every day when you worked. But it is not in your post orders to stop them and retrieve that, right? You're not loss prevention. That's not your job. That's what loss prevention's for, or whatever. But there are people and stories I've told.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
I know, but people that we have talked about situations that have happened where those guys take it a step too far. It's that cock of the block type attitude, and then they take it a step too far. So if I have no bones in any of this, but that is what it is. It's the attitude. It's that is the way I describe it as like cock of the block attitude, where they are not following their post orders and they're more concerned. And we've talked about this. I think you've done podcasts or live streams or videos about guys who do more than the post orders require when it's not their job.
Okay, so let me just say this then. All right, you bring up a perfect point. And this is my retort. If a security guard doing too much, going outside the scope of their work, harassing people, bullying people, acting cocky. Okay, if a stay with me now. If a security guard doing that is acting like a cop, then why are we not addressing that cops are doing that?
Well,
Stop.
So if a security guard is doing something wrong, out of line, out of policy,
being too aggressive, harassing, and bullying, and that is quintessentially acting like a cop, then vis-a-vis, the discussion needs to be, why are cops allowed to do that? Now, if my 4-year-old kid is acting like daddy, you're acting just like your daddy. You acting just like your daddy. You acting just like your daddy. Well, what's he doing that's acting like his daddy? He's walking around here, knocking shit off the table. He's, yelling and screaming. He's cussing. He's out of control. Okay, then the problem is not with the 4-year-old. The problem is with daddy. So the conversation does not need to start with private security. Everybody wants to put the onus on the guy that's making $15 an hour, working a goddamn shift at a Wallgreens by himself. The reason why they're so geared up is because you allow criminals to come in and take shit. And when they come in and take shit and they're wearing a fucking ski mask and they've got a hatchet or a gun, there's nobody for that security guard to call. We don't have backup. We don't have somebody that we can push a button, get on a radio, and 70 people are going to show up. If you do something to a police officer in any capacity, whether you're at a traffic stop, whether they're at a coffee shop, whether they're getting a donut, they're eating dinner, no matter where a police officer is, the second that you put a finger on that cop, he can radio and they will send people after people after people. There's no level of what you can do. There's no amount of force that you can bring that is going to defeat the amount of people that are coming for your ass. And if the municipality or the city that you're in runs out of people, guess what? Next county. It won't stop. It's not like that for private security. There's one guy who, for the most part, his company has not trained. They've done little to give him any ability to defend himself, to be able to. We could talk about basic self-defense. Security companies don't teach that. We could talk about basic self-preservation, like applying a tourniquet if you're shot, being able to offer decent first aid to yourself or somebody else in the middle of a crisis. Most security companies don't offer that. We haven't even gotten to personal interaction, one-on-one discussion, de-escalation, how to articulate yourself, how to properly write a report. They don't offer that. Now, from the state level, there's all kinds of things that the state mandates for private security, all types of restrictions that governing bodies want to put on private security. You can't carry this kind of firearm. If you have a firearm, it's got to be registered. If you're going to carry a firearm, you have to declare it. You got to declare the caliber. Rule, regulation, all down the line. What they don't do is offer training. I contacted our governing body here in Oregon the day that I started working private security. Hey, I'm carrying handcuffs. You are in charge of the state police. You're in charge of municipal police. You're in charge of corrections and security. Can I come and do a class on how to properly handcuff? We don't teach handcuffing to private security. Why? You allow me to carry handcuffs. And if I'm in a situation where I have to detain someone who's pulled a 12-inch knife on me, like in October, I might have to handcuff that person. So if I potentially have to handcuff a person and you're allowing me to carry handcuffs, the fuck are you not allowing me to train on how to handcuff? You have the police academy, you have the corrections officer academy. A security guard like myself that wants to learn should be able to sign up. What is the one thing that you hear about from every politician? From every politician when it comes to firearms, we need more training. We need more training. We need more training. We need more training. We're not against firearms. We need more training. Now, if me as a security guard were to contact the local police department and say, hey, can I come train with you guys? No. If I were to contact my local corrections departments around here, hey guys, I'm a private security guard. I'm DPSST certified just like you. Can I come train firearms with you? No. Hey, DPSST, I would like tactical training because it's highly unlikely that I'm going to be standing in one spot and shooting straight if an active shooter comes into a grocery store and there's 500 people everywhere. How do I make sure I hit the right person and not the other people? Can you train me on that? No. So don't fucking tell me that it's about training, because we ask for training all the time. The companies don't offer training. The client doesn't offer training. The state doesn't offer training. The police don't offer training. Corrections doesn't offer training. But then when shit goes south, private security acting like cops. Private security out of control. Private security doesn't know how to talk to people. How is that guy? Pull his picture up. His name is Brian Vinegar.
Well,
this dude is getting roasted.
That's a still frame image I just paused.
How is this guy supposed to know how to interact with people, how to talk to people, how to deal with people, how to de-escalate? Everybody wants law enforcement officers to de-escalate. Cops need to learn how to de-escalate. Well, you know what they do for every police department now? Equity inclusion training, de-escalation training, empathy training, 21st century police training. They mandate that. They make them go through it. You think that guy with his company working at Wallgreens, that he was in a situation where he was given any of that? But now we're holding him to it. And everybody goes, well, it's common sense. No, it's not common sense. Because you know what? The same people that are complaining about him, the same people that are saying that this guy is out of control, that this guy is doing too much, that this guy is talking out the side of his neck, the same people that are saying that are the same ones who come into the store every single day and act like that towards us. So if he, as a private security guard, I'm assuming making $15 to $25 an hour, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know how to interact with people. He doesn't know how to de-escalate. The same people that come in, the customers, y'all don't know how to talk to people and de-escalate either. I had a situation the other day. There's a whole nother avenue, right? I had a situation the other day. Loss prevention officer is dealing with a homeless black woman. Optics, right? I talk about optics all the time. White loss prevention officer dealing with a black homeless person, and it becomes heated. Argument starts. Black gentleman from across the street at the bus stop. He sees this. Now I'm in the background. I'm in a protective secondary position. It's not my job to get involved in this, right? Unless it goes south. Black guy from across the street starts yelling and screaming, hey, leave that sister alone. Leave that queen alone. Hey. And he starts to run up. When he runs up, him and the white loss prevention officer get into a back and forth. And he's like, you ain't going to talk to that black woman this way. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do this. And the white loss prevention officer is like, hey, race doesn't have anything to do with this. Like, I'm just getting her out of here because she's been trespassed. She's doing this, blah, 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 right? So now the black guy starts to come up the stairs. Now I have to get involved. Now it's my turn. I come down. Hey, it's all good. She's leaving. You know, he's going to go back inside. No need for any of us to. Now this guy starts yelling at me. Now I'm all kinds of bitch ass nigga. I'm a motherfucker. He wants to fight me. And I'm like, oh, the irony. The irony of you being on some Wakanda shit across the street, and it's all about saving the black queen. But now you're willing to fight, and he's talking about shooting me and stabbing me and coming up there after work. I'm like, what happened to Wakanda? Like, now because I stepped down and like tried to get you to back up, now it's on some black man versus black man shit. Like, that's the irony, right? He doesn't see that as a critical thinking individual to go, I'm over here talking about black empowerment and I'm ready to shoot, stab, and kill this black man that's working that I have no beef with. Mm-hmm. And if you're the kind of person that is ridiculing security guards for what they're wearing, what they're carrying, what they have at their disposal, if they are, listen, we're talking about if they're legally able to have it. If somebody has something that they're not legally able to have, they're not trained, they're not certified, that's a different conversation, and they shouldn't be in that position legally. So if you are the kind of person that is ridiculing someone that is doing their job and wearing protective equipment that they need, you're no different. Because you're the same person that's going to run and hide and scream your ass off when the shots start ringing out. And you're going to be looking for somebody to help you.
Or when someone stabs you.
Or when someone stabs you. And if you live in an area of the country where this doesn't happen, then congratulations. But guess what? You don't. Because there's been mass shootings in very small towns. The one that happened in like, I don't know, where was it? Like Rhode Island or some shit? Like last year, the bowling alley guy. Like this stuff happens everywhere, guys. That's why they have us there. But the conversation is out of control. And you can't tell me as a person what I need. You don't know what I need. How dare you? Number one, how dare you? Tell me what I need to protect myself as an individual working in an environment where I might get shot or stabbed. I'm the guy that they're calling to come deal with the crazy person. And I think that a lot of times the conversation is like, you guys think that when I'm saying this, that I'm only talking about some homeless, crackhead, or gang member. The average everyday person flips out at a grocery store. People just like me, a regular guy, hardworking guy that just happens to have a concealed carry license and gets upset about a charge that he doesn't think is legitimate. I have to deal with that guy. I have to deal with the black belt jujitsu guy that comes in and doesn't like the way that, someone cut his steak. And now he's yelling and screaming, and I got to go de-escalate that situation. I have to deal with the ex-Army Ranger that's mad that he dropped his debit card and they allowed some crackhead to take. These are all situations that I have to insert myself into to deal with. So don't sit there and tell me what I need to deal with that. Especially don't tell me what I need to have as my equipment when everyone in Portland is running around with tails and fucking ears on top of their head. And don't get me started, okay? So none of y'all get to tell me what I need to be having on my uniform. Because people run around with all kinds of trinkets in Portland and Seattle. And it's all good. Is that too far? I mean,
I was just thinking, doesn't matter what I think, but who the fuck cares? I have never walked in anywhere and seen officers or security armed and kitted out, and I have never had the thought,
oh my God,
of being scared or that's not necessary, or I never, and anywhere we have lived, anywhere we have been, I have never in my life walked in somewhere. And, I beg the argument of like, it has to be maybe time and place for people. I don't know. Because they sure shit wouldn't complain about walking into the courthouse and seeing 15 fucking dudes standing around with guns on their hips, right? So for me, it's like whether I'm walking into a retail establishment or a grocery store, anywhere, and seeing someone kitted out, I have just never, I've had thoughts, but never had thoughts that are bad in terms of that. Most of the time I just
that should make you feel like you should feel good that like the company is even, like they don't have to. They don't have to. You should feel good that the company is even taking the step to put a goddamn guard there.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I've never felt one where I can't say I've never walked in somewhere and thought, oh, I'm glad security's here. But I've definitely never walked in somewhere and thought someone is too kitted out in terms of what they're wearing. Like, I don't know.
Dude, it's crazy.
People are crazy. So, yeah. I'm going to have to watch this video.
I mean, yeah. The whole acting like a cop thing, that shit just fucking infuriates me.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It does need to start, but no one starts that conversation. You guys are you're the easy target. That's why the conversation starts with you and not with police, like you said.
No one goes to a nurse. Oh, you think you're a doctor? Oh, you acting like a doctor. You acting like a doctor. Look at this. He acting doctor ass wannabe motherfucker. You're a nurse, right? No one goes to a teacher. This motherfucker want to be a professor. Ah, man, you trying to be a goddamn motherfucker want to be a professor. It's a teacher.
Could you imagine how those conversations would go?
Like people would be like, "Are you like how smooth is your brain to say some dumb shit like that?" Look at this motherfucker. He got a truck. He want to be a goddamn truck driver.
Want to be a farmer.
This motherfucker want to be a farmer. Ah, this my farmer ass motherfucker. Like, what is wrong with people? I don't know that there's any other occupation where it's like green light to just dump shit and roast somebody for doing a job. I don't even see, like, garbage men don't get that. We all, how inconsequential is your garbage? Like, I don't think about my garbage, right? But it's like, I have such a high respect for the garbage man because, like, I don't want that shit. We all know if you leave your garbage in your backyard too long, like, all kinds of bad things are gonna happen. You get maggots, you're gonna have raccoons, like foxes, all kinds of shit, right?
Right.
So it's like, and the second you put your garbage out, you come home that day, and like, if garbage pickup was on Monday and the garbage is there, you're like, oh my God, like, what? And you're calling the company and you're like, hey, like, is there, like, did I pay my bill? You're on some respectful shit for your garbage. You're not like, get that motherfucking garbage man, that garbage ass motherfucker. Like, you don't do that. You never, the garbage man doesn't pull up and you go out there and start clowning his outfit or roasting his education. You let that dude be. Right? Post guy, you don't like sit there and roast the post guy. He's wearing a fucking pair of blue ass shorts and
baby blue shirt
and like a goddamn, like, you know, like an African hunter type hat. Like, we don't roast a goddamn postman. He's got a job to do. Like, what is it about private security where everybody is just on some talk shit? And it's like,
But no one posts the good things. I only see or hear about the bad stories. How many millions of security guards are there?
There's 30,000 security guards in Oregon.
Right. And we never hear about the good things or the positive things. If you or everybody like you commented, posted, I'm not saying you can, would, or should, but like commented or posted about turnarounds. You all have to have turnarounds, right? It's no different than whenever I worked for the eye doctor and we sold value products and we sold premium products and we sold, 70% value and 30% premium. And then when I took over within 3 months, I flipped it. We sold 80% premium and 20% value because I'm real smooth and finesse the fucking sales, right? Like, I know how to do my job. No different than you guys with the amount of reports you file or incidences you have and your camaraderie with people. What was the incidents like before you got to the store that you're at, and what are they like now, right? Like, there's got to be some sort of ratio on how you handle and de-escalate situations, on what was a really bad incident that needed to be really up-channeled versus you having just a small incident of getting someone out of the store. Does that make sense? Like, and I'm sure there's got to be a lot of that where if you guys talked more about the positive things, not you guys, but
I just don't understand, like, why it's widely accepted to talk shit about one. It's not, listen, it would be different if it was just talk shit. Like, people legitimately can pass by you. I think that it's like, what other job can people legitimately walk by you and towards you and around you and just like hurl insults at you? Like, there's no other, I don't know of any other profession. And it's universally accepted that, like, you as the security guard is just supposed to sit there and eat that shit.
I don't know, you do pretty good with your petty retorts back sometimes.
I mean, yeah, you want to get into a roast battle. Like, I'm the 2-time reigning petty champ. Like, I light your ass up. I'm like, don't cry. You signed the waiver. Because, like, you come in with some bullshit, I got you. I don't know, man. Oh, all right. Let me look at these comments, man. Lord, there's a ton of comments on here.
Oh boy.
I can't even. I'll have to look at them later.
Want any one of them that stand out?
We need to be prepared for any. Somebody was just talking about like, why we wear what we wear. We need to be prepared for anything and everything in today's climate. Agreed. Marcus says, finally caught you on the live stream. Hello from Illinois. I'm an armed security officer here in Illinois. Hey, Marcus, welcome, bro. Yeah. Frank Martin, who I believe is either a current law enforcement officer or a former law enforcement officer. He always comments on my stuff. He says, I like the fact that you do your research and you stay on top of current events and security. I do my best, guys. Listen, if you're a security guard you got to start talking about this stuff. It's up to us to validate our industry, and it's up to us to highlight our industry. People don't know what they don't know. Like maybe I'm putting too much emphasis and pressure on people to do the right thing or know the right thing, but you gotta start speaking up. Like I personally am not the one. Like I'm not going to sit there and get into an argument with people that are like walking by and say something, but I will say something. Like 90% of the time, someone levies a slick comment to me, I don't just let it slide. You know, even if it's just bringing light to it to the people in the area. But you gotta stand up for yourselves. And when people start talking about this equipment shit and what we're wearing and why we're wearing it, you need to have that conversation.
And if you don't know why you're wearing it, this is only coming from me. If you don't know why you're wearing it, maybe you shouldn't be in security to begin with, because anyone in security, just like that person said, in today's day and age, we wear what we wear to be prepared for anything type of business, but you got to know why you're wearing it. So if you're going to be like that sassy guy, as you call them, going, oh yeah, we're wearing too much and we're doing too much, then get the fuck out of the business.
Right. Like thank you. That's my last point. Okay, we're gonna bring it home. We're gonna land the plane. That's my point. What is wrong with you as a private security guard in this industry that you're talking shit? That is the crux of the conflict. I expect Karen to have an issue. I expect Sassy Darren to have an issue. I expect, the average person that is just walking around in a fog to have an issue. What I don't expect is private security guards, employers, contractors, individuals in this industry siding with that shit. What are you doing? Even if you don't agree with what he has on, it should start with, like, that is the opportunity that guy that they interviewed in that one news clip, that was his opportunity to highlight why private security does need that. Why is he wearing that? Well, I'm looking at the uniform, and I have to be honest with you, a lot of these things are happening in these types of stores. You look at the crime, you look at the level of mass shootings that have happened over the past 5 years. I get it. I understand it. And right now, police response, all-time low. A lot of the departments have been defunded. There's a shortage of police officers. These companies are leaning on private security. And to our credit as an industry, we've been there to fill that gap. I understand why he needs that in that situation. Now, we can talk about whether or not, certain amounts of things are excessive. Maybe he doesn't need rifle magazines if he's got rifle magazines. But that's a great time to highlight the positives of security. If you are the security expert, if they say, we're here with Damian Bunting, private security guard, security company owner, trainer, Damian, what's your thought on this situation? And the first thing that I do is shit on private security. That sets the entire industry back. You know what I mean? You can be critical of the officer. I have been critical of that officer. You can be critical of that officer without throwing the industry of private security under the bus. Because now what they're going to do, today is the 6th or the 7th, right? The 7th? Today's the 7th? Mark my words. 6 months from now, there will be a ballot initiative or a change in policy in Washington. No body cameras. I guarantee you, no body cameras is coming. More than likely, what they're going to say is you are limited to the magazine in your firearm and one extra. And ultimately, what they want to do is they're going to say no outer carriers. They're going to more than likely allow us to wear an internal carrier, but they're going to say no outer carriers. Why do I say this? Because that was the proposed changes they wanted to do here in Oregon last year.
And no plates.
They were
initially.
Well, it would have to be an internal carrier that you can't see. Or it would have to be this high visible, which is like the bright yellow, the guys that work on the Max line.
Yeah.
They wear the super bright yellow, super blue. So you can't be confused with law enforcement, right? That's what they want. They ultimately want that. And that is not good for you. If you're not a private security guard and you're just happening on my live stream and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, when I go to the grocery store, I don't want it to look like some guy's about to jump into Fallujah. Well, then guess what? Don't vote for Fallujah, motherfucker. Because if they take us out of the equation, if they say, Damien, the only way that you can work in the store is to put on a pair of clown shoes and walk around with a trumpet as opposed to a firearm, guess what? I ain't going to work there. Now, I have a concealed carry license, and I am tactically trained, and I feel comfortable and confident that I can protect myself. Are you? So now you've advocated to remove the protection because you didn't want to feel uncomfortable, while at the same time, you've put people in power and leadership that are making you live in Fallujah. So the threat doesn't go anywhere because Damien's not there in his tactical uniform. The threat is still there, and you don't have any protection. So the circle continues, and now we're right back to the next mass shooting, and you're ass out. And I ain't gonna feel bad for you. Any thoughts before I end this?
No, it's a good.
Why do y'all make life so difficult? Like nothing about life needs to be this difficult.
Yeah.
And people in my life, like I have a mentor. He's probably gonna watch this video. He's like, "Why do you get so worked up? Just, you know, just let it go, man." And maybe one day I will be like that old guy just sitting in the rocking chair. But I don't hear anybody else saying this shit. Like, it's just common sense.
I keep saying this though. You give people way too much fucking credit in the common sense department. Way too much credit.
Can anybody answer this question? How do people that are like, how do you put your feelings over common sense? People who like literally say, I was in a meeting. They tried to pass, well, they did pass. So in Oregon, like if people propose a new law, they have to do what's called a ballot initiative, right? So the ballot initiative was on gun control. This was like 3 years ago, okay? So what they wanted to do was mandate that if you were going to purchase a firearm in Oregon, you had to first get a permit to purchase that. Not a permit to carry, not a concealed carry license, but a license to purchase. This is something that's, gaining traction in other states. So what the license requirement was, it said that you would have to go to the local police department and you would have to apply for this license to purchase a firearm. You would have to take a 20-hour class, and that you would have to demonstrate via live fire. That means with an actual live round that you can manipulate and safely operate that firearm. So during the ballot initiative process, they allow like 5 people to sit in and offer testimony. They have a judge, they have like all these attorneys for the state. And so I was one of the 5 people that was allowed to sit in and comment. So we're in this virtual courtroom. You're in like the Zoom meeting. I'm just calling it like it is. The judge and the attorneys were all women. And so we're talking about it, and they have to write on the ballot initiative when they send it to the voters to vote. They only have, it's like Twitter. They've only got 180 characters.
Right.
So you have to put what the law is going to be, and you have to tell people what the requirements are going to be. And you only have so much space. And by law, they only have like 3 hours. From the time that they open the court session, they have 3 hours. If they don't get it all hammered out and everybody agree upon it and sign off in those 3 hours, the initiative is dead. So there's a time limit. They can't sit in there forever. So while we're talking, the people that are bringing forth this new law, they did not want to put in there that you would have to demonstrate via live fire. And we were like, no, that's important. Like the average person that doesn't know anything about firearms, if you say, hey, in order to get this license to purchase, you're going to have to apply and you're going to have to demonstrate that you know how to use a firearm. The average person would go, okay, well, that seems easy enough. Now, if you say you're going to have to demonstrate via live fire, most people are going to go, wait a minute. How are the police going to, there's only so many police departments.
Right.
Oregon has, I don't know, 3 million people, however many people are in Oregon. There's 3 million people here. How are they going to get all of these people to come in and do a live fire class? That's crazy. Like you would have to have a shooting range. Like does your local police department have a shooting range? No. Here in Oregon, here in Portland, there's only 3 shooting ranges. One is like a main public range, but and then the rest are private businesses. So would the police department have to open up a shooting range? None of that was going to be explained. They didn't want to put that on the ballot initiative. And so we kept saying like, no, you have to tell people this. And they were like, well, and the judge goes, I don't know anything about firearms and I just don't like firearms. So we're just going to write it this way and we'll just figure it out later. There's so many moving parts to people being able to legally own a firearm under this new law. How do you quantify that with the fact that you don't like firearms? You just don't like firearms. That's what she did. Yeah, she did that. I don't like firearms. And so we're not going to worry about the moving parts that are involved in this. And that's the same way that people address guns in general. I don't like firearms. So I don't want a guy standing in my grocery store with a firearm. The fuck does that have to do with reality? Some of the stores that I work in, people have been murdered there. It's common knowledge. You can Google it. In the parking lot, they were murdered. You have to go in the parking lot as a normal person to get from the store into your car, from the car into the store. How does your not liking firearms equate to the reality of where you're standing? There have been like 5 murdering stabbings in the past like 3 weeks in Portland.
Well, because things don't happen to people, and I don't want to say that they're complacent, but it's kind of no different than your son getting held up at gunpoint, and now he's like, all right, I can see the benefit, right? Like
maybe it would have been good to have a gun.
It took something happening, and a lot of people float through that. It's no different than some of my family members, especially with all of the changes and laws happening in the last 2 years in Portland concerning firearms. And I'm not someone who runs around and just advocates for anyone to have a gun, but I did say, it wouldn't be a horrible idea if one or both of you, right, like my brother or his wife, get your concealed carry so that you don't get caught up if anything ever happens. You don't have to purchase a gun, but if you at least apply to get your concealed carry, you have it to be able to do XYZ. And my brother was definitely of the just, whatever kind of mind frame. And my sister-in-law's like, I've made it 35 years without ever needing a gun. I don't think I'm going to need one the next 35 years. I think people just have a very complacent attitude. And obviously, if I said my one piece, then I just go, okay, because I'm not going to change their mind. I said my piece and I've let it, let it be, and they're going to go on how they are, and that's totally fine. But it's not going to influence how we change ours, right? Or how I carry mine. I still carry with myself even when I go to their home, you know, and things like that.
Somebody said, how do people put their feelings over rationale? It's easy. It's easier for people to feel than it is to think. People commonly pick the easier path, so we end up with feelings over rationale.
Fucking perfect.
Brilliant.
Award goes to you. Winning comment.
Yep, winning comment of the day. Yep, winning comment. You, sir, get a star.
Yeah, winning comment of the day.
Got a snoring dog over there. All right, well.
Yeah.
That's enough ranting for one day.
Holy good golly.
My blood pressure is probably like... I appreciate you guys listening to us talk about this. Morgan and I, we sit here and we talk about stuff, and she allows me to vent
Mm-hmm.
And then she tells me about all the sexy books that she reads. And let me tell you guys something. Hey, pro tip. Pro tip. If you ever meet a woman and she's into reading sexy books, a lot of time guys will be like, hey, you know, I don't want you reading that stuff and fantasizing. I don't know where your head's at.
Oh.
But if you're smart, what you do is you lean into that. You go, oh yeah? Let me buy you a couple. I heard this is a good one. Right? You follow what I'm saying here, guys?
Can I just give 2 cents and then I'll be done talking?
Yeah, go ahead. 2 cents.
I read, your listeners don't care, but I'm going to say it anyways. I read more than anyone else you've ever met in your life. So I probably average 450 books a year. I read every single day, and there's no exception. And after the first 3 or 4 months of reading, because Damien did not know, we've been together almost 8 years, that I have an addiction to reading. Doesn't matter. But I opened the book about 2 years ago, and I never stopped reading about 2 years ago. So he's had to live with this. And after 3 or 4 months of me reading every day, he says, should I be worried about this? And I'm like, I don't think so. I could be out doing worse things, right, than sitting at home reading a fucking book. He's like, all right, cool. But it didn't take too much long after that of like me going, I'm reading some very good things here. This could be applicable to my life. And let me tell you, men, if you just listen to your woman, if she reads romance of all kinds, like if you don't get insecure and you just listen, your life can be so fucking beneficial. 180 degrees.
Yeah. I have 4 words for you. Okay? Just go with it. Okay?
Just buy her the book.
Yeah.
5 words.
Yeah, 5 words. Yeah. Yeah, man. So anyway, speaking of which, all right.
I know.
So we're
Don't worry. We should do a whole thing diving into that.
I get worked up on politics. She gets worked up on books, and then we meet in the middle.
So true. That is.
All right. Bye, guys.